Hello, this is Father Aaron Westman with the Glen Mary Home Missioners, and this is your Missioner Moment. My brothers and sisters, we hear this weekend in the readings from the book of Job, and Job is this kind of memorable character from the Bible, and he has this great line, and I'm paraphrasing here from the beginning of what we hear this weekend. He says, "Isn't life a drudgery? Isn't life a drudgery?" You know, and it's really interesting thinking about, especially here in the Midwest in the United States, as we're moving through February. It's kind of dark and dreary. I think perhaps what we can relate to what Job is saying. I mean, sometimes, no matter what, this is the experience that we feel. I mean, life is tough. It's a drudgery. It's a struggle. There's a lot of suffering that goes with it. I mean, in all seriousness, for 95% of the world's population, people experience these kinds of struggles. We enter into a marriage and we realize that it's not all a bed of roses, and it really takes work. And even a good committed marriage, it can be a struggle to be with somebody else. We think about those people who are sick, dealing with illnesses, some perhaps their entire life, that kind of struggle and what that might mean for them. And then there's people who, they maybe don't have a job and are looking for work, or maybe folks do have a job, and let's just be honest that it's probably not the greatest job in the world. Maybe it's taken an exacting toll on them physically, mentally, psychologically, and even worse situations, like folks who are refugees or migrants who are on the move with no place to call their home. I think if we're honest, we recognize that life can really be a drudgery, and we can relate to what Job has to say. I think one of the worst things that we can do as Christians is to kind of give oversimplified answers to folks when we encounter them in our lives, to the sufferings and struggles that they're having. I mean, one of the worst things, I think, is kind of American mentality. If you just say, "Oh, you just need to work harder. You need to pull yourself up by your own bootstraps, and you need to just dedicate yourself a little bit more, and then things will work out for you." Or another kind of very overly simplistic response is, "You just need to think more positively. Think more positively, and then all these illnesses and these struggles that you're having, they'll just kind of go away." I think we all know what it feels like to receive these kinds of responses from people, and it doesn't help our situation. So how might we respond as Christians? I think in the gospel today we have an example of what we might consider in our own lives. And there's no easy solution that'll be applied in every situation. But in the gospel, I think we hear two things. The first is encounter. The second is invitation. When people are struggling and suffering, when life is a drudgery, we're invited to encounter them, to stand in solidarity with them, to journey with them, and not necessarily to have the answers, but to walk with them. And this is what it means for us to be human. And the second thing is an invitation. We know that God cares about us and the drudgery of life so much that he sent Jesus. And all throughout the Gospels, Jesus encounters these people who are invited and brought to him, and he walks with them and he heals them and he gives them grace. And he might not necessarily fix everything in their life so that everything is perfect, but he enters into relationship with them. And that for each of us is enough for the drudgery of life. My brothers and sisters, sometimes life is a drudgery. Let us encounter folks in their suffering, and in the right moment, when it's right, invite them to encounter Jesus. God bless.